Living on a sailboat is great when it sails, but when the engine is on, it's hard to feel like you live on a sailboat as much as you live in a tractor. During our first few years on the water, I will admit, I was a little engine happy, turning that thing on as soon as I felt we were going a little too slow, but over the years, we've really developed a love-hate relationship with our engine. Our engine is right in the middle of everything, but most annoyingly, it's right next to the cabin where we sleep. And when that thing is on, let me tell you, there is not much sleeping happening. Back in August of last year, after a hellish 7 days of motoring between Bermuda and the US, I was seriously considering abandoning ship and just swimming for it all, just so I could get away from that bloody engine. On a long passage, the engine can really become the bane of our existence, but it's a necessary evil. Sometimes the wind dies and we need to move forward, and sometimes we just need to turn it on to top up the batteries when the solar can't do it. You heard this correctly, that's because you're not next to the engine, but it drives us insane. This coming season, we will be sailing up north to Canada via the Erie Canal and along the St. Lawrence River. And there will be plenty of motoring time, so I decided it was time to do something about it and make our engine quiet. Well, at least as much as possible. So in this video, I will guide you through how we made our engine quieter, what materials we chose for the insulation and why, how we installed the new material, and the exact decibel reduction we got out of this project. And before we start, a quick thank you to our partner, West Marine, who is sponsoring this video. With over 100,000 products referenced, West Marine distributes everything we need to prepare and maintain polar seal for our sailing adventures. And we couldn't be more thrilled to have them on board. Like, literally on board. You will be able to find this video as well as an article on West Advisor, a West Marine publication in which you can find all kinds of practical technical information related to boating, so keep an eye out. So before we do this, we're gonna take a few readings. We're gonna do decibel level readings with the engine on with this old insulation in, and we're gonna do them at various spots on the boat because the sound intensity will decrease rapidly as you get farther away from the noise source. So we're gonna do it first here, then once we get all the new stuff in, which I'll show you in a little bit, we will take some more readings. So lots of readings. Very official. I think it was like $10 on Amazon. You just hold it up here. So you can see as I'm talking, we're doing about 76. Now if I talk louder, we're going a lot louder. But that gives you an idea here. So what we're gonna do is fire up the engine. Let's see what we got. We have the engine at idle right now. And in the salon, this is what we're getting. So it's not too bad, high 60s. But let's go back in the cabin where all the magic happens. A little bit louder back here, about 70. And then if we go up into the V-berth, let's see. Pretty big difference when you go from right by the engine, that's about 65, to up here is about 55. So distance makes a big difference as well, and unfortunately we sleep in the back cabin right next to it. So now what I'm gonna do is we're gonna rev it up to about 2,000 RPM, and we'll see what it looks like there. 2,000 RPM, right by the engine, let's see what we got. It's about 71 or 72, so it's about 6-7 decibels higher out here. So it's about the same. Okay, now we'll go up in the V-berth. About 63 to 64 decibels. So it's quite a bit higher up here with the motor at 2,000 RPM. So now we get to work. This is the old insulation, and you can see it's about a 1/2 inch thick. And I've already cut a little bit of this off, so you can see it's held on with a adhesive, so I can actually pull this off, but I'm not getting all of it. So the idea today is to try to cut most of this away and get some of this adhesive off. I'm not sure how we'll do that, but we have a whole engine compartment to do, and it goes all the way up. So the first thing that we need in order to make our engine quiet is to pick some new insulation material. Our old engine insulation is only made of a 1/4 inch foam, and we're gonna take it up a notch to this. This is better. This is a composite of acoustic grade polyester urethane foam with a high-density vinyl barrier and a protective facing heat reflective aluminized mylar film. Yes, it's a mouthful, but it addresses the two types of noise that our engine creates: airborne noise and structural noise. Airborne noise is the noise we hear directly in the air, like the sound of an engine or the exhaust. Structural borne noise is the noise that transmits through the boat's structure, like the vibrations caused by the engine. A couple of years ago, we replaced the engine mounts, which absorbed some of the vibration caused by the engine, and we noticed a very slight improvement in how much noise our engine produced, but not nearly enough to our taste. Okay, so the foam in the material addresses the airborne noise and will cut out part of the engine noise. The piece of hard vinyl in the middle cuts out some of the structural noise, such as the engine's vibration. And because our engine room is naturally really hot, the aluminized mylar film protects the foam from melting. This piece of sound insulation is actually quite heavy, so a choice we have to make before the installation is how thick we want the material to be. We chose to install 1 inch because I wanted to insulate and cut out noise as much as I possibly could. But if your engine compartment is very tight, you might want a thinner version. From there on, the installation is pretty straightforward. First, I measured the space to make sure that I bought the right amount of insulation material. I then cut the old foam with an insulation cutting machete and cleaned up the panels with Goo Gone. It's important to remove as much of the old material as possible so the new one has a surface clean enough to adhere to. I tried a lot of different products, including acetone, but Goo Gone is what got me the furthest. Covered the engine, now we're gonna get at this. I also need trash bags. Forgot to put that on the list of shit I need. Making progress. We got all the doors off. I think we need to get the rest of this stuff off. This is kind of how it looked before. So my technique here has been to scrub a dub with the wire brush, hose it off with some Goo Gone, not sponsored, and then just take this blade, and it just kind of gets the mess right off. So I think the part that's going to not be very fun right now is the rest of it, which unfortunately is the biggest part. We need to get in all these nooks and crannies here. I don't think the machete is going to do very well for that. So I'm going to take my new tools I got and see if we can't just chisel it out of there. Now it's stuck to the floor. Next, I made templates of the panels I needed to cut with some poster board paper. For some panels, I drew on the board paper, and for others, I just measured the template because it was difficult to access those parts of the engine. Inside the compartment, there were some engine parts that I needed to account for on my templates, such as pipes and wires, the alternator regulator, and the diode box. When my templates were ready, I used them to draw directly on the insulation material and cut it out with a very sharp pocket knife. Before gluing the new insulation panels to the engine compartment, I removed the alternator regulator and the diode box, as well as any pipes or wires attached to the walls. Now it's time to mount the insulation panels, and I do that in 2 ways. First, I attach these pins to the structure of the engine room. These pins will mechanically hold the insulation panels in place. And before I push the insulation panels against the pins, I spray them with an adhesive spray that is made especially for this purpose. Right now, what we're going to do is take some of this mylar tape, which is right here, and we are going to just seal this edge because this is going to be exposed to the front. I think I'm actually going to do this side because it's a bit better. It's not really sticking very well. I'm going to take a little bit of adhesive. I've already gone through a can of this stuff. That one looks good, Chad.
Yeah, man.
Oh, we got a small issue with the doors.
What's that?
Oh.
I see the little lip, the little tab off the bottom.
Tab's gotta come off.
Okay.
All right, Chad, are you ready for the big reveal?
Absolutely. Glorious.
It's very shiny in there. Now I'll actually be able to see. So now we just need to hook the wires up. Finally, I remount the wires and boxes where they belong, and voila! Our engine is almost completely re-insulated. Almost, because we still have a little bit of work to do to make sure there's no sound leaks through the panels. I use a Mylar insulation tape to cover the seams between the panels everywhere I can and in every corner and every seam that can be exposed. And now it's time for the ultimate test. But before we go into the results we got, take a minute to give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to support this channel more directly, consider joining our Patreon page. So now, the moment of truth. Chad!
Yes.
Shall you start the engine?
I shall.
Okay, here we go. Chad!
Yes.
Can you start the engine? I have to say, in the cabin here, I think it's actually a lot quieter. In the cabin here, I think it's noticeably quieter. We'll see. Maybe I'm just talking myself up. 65. We'll go in the back cabin. And back here, it's... And then up in the V-berth, 50, somewhere between 52 and 54. All right, take up to 2,000. It's below 60 decibels up here. That's pretty good. Let's see what the back cabin is. Well, that's the project. It's still loud, but not as loud. So you may look at this and be like, all that for 3 decibels? But it's important to remember that the decibel scale is not linear, but logarithmic. On the decibel scale, the quietest possible audible sound perceived near total silence is 0 decibels. A sound 10 times more powerful is 10 decibels. Sound 100 times more powerful than near total silence is 20. A sound 1,000 times more powerful than near total silence is 30 decibels, 40, and so on. A 10 decibel sound increase means that a sound increased by a factor of 10, and a 10 decibel sound decrease means the sound decreased by a factor of 10. So essentially, our 3 decibel sound decrease means that we reduced the noise produced by our engine by 50%, which is a lot. This means that this season, the engine will drive us 50% less insane, reduce our stress on board by 50%, and put 50% less strain on Sophie and I's relationship. And at around $1,000 total, between materials and tools, it's almost as efficient as going to therapy. Almost. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you next week for more fun stories of our sailing adventures. Bye-bye. We should insulate the dock so we don't hear the grinder on the dock. Just put the panels there.
We should insulate the cockpit to make a studio.
We should put these panels, Mylar film. All right.